Well, good afternoon, everybody, or good morning on the West Coast. Happy Thursday, the 23rd of September. And greetings on our Facebook Global Live Update. We're coming to you today from Marina del Rey, California. We're actually floating on the water, but happy to get all your comments and, of course, give you all the global news updates you need to know that you deserve to know. And it's been a very, very, very busy week. So let's start with it. Of course, you can always reach me. If you can't get through on the questions today, you can always get to me on peter@petergreenberg.com. We'll answer it either online or on our radio show, Eye on Travel, that airs this Saturday. And if you don't know where it is, that's okay. You can find it online with us. And if you can't find it anywhere else, we stream it live online as well every Saturday from 10:05 Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern. And just come on by and listen to the show. Lots of stuff to report on. And it happened actually about 4 days ago on Monday when, after 18 months, the United States announced that it was going to finally open the door, relax the ban on travel from vaccinated passengers from not just the United Kingdom and the European Union, but India, South Africa, China, Iran, and Brazil. That's not just a big announcement. That's a huge announcement with tremendous economic impact, both abroad and especially right here in the U.S. And to give you an idea about pent-up demand, within the first 7 to 8 hours, the British Airways website nearly crashed, went up 700% in bookings. Another organization that scans all the activity on websites reports across the board on travel websites, traffic up 74%. There's no seasonality attached to this. People are just ready to go. They're not waiting. Now, the doors don't open again until sometime in November. The U.S. has not announced a specific date in November, but I would guess it would probably be within the first 10 days of that month. Needless to say, bookings starting in November are already through the roof. Now, what does that mean to you? Well, if you're an incoming gateway city like Orlando or Los Angeles, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Boston, New York, Miami, you're going to do great because everybody wants to show up. Now, we've got a challenge. We had the challenge before the announcement was made last week. How do we staff that? We can't get enough people to come back to restaurants, to hotels, to airlines, to airports, to other segments of the travel industry. And so while we have the capacity, we may not have the staff. It's going to be very interesting to see how that converges in the next 30 days because the money that we're talking about is in the billions and billions of dollars. So far, the loss to the U.S. travel industry so far has been about $500 billion, and that's probably a conservative estimate. So you know they're ready for the welcome doors to open, and they will in November. Now, there's another added attraction to this, which may not make you happy, and don't say I didn't warn you, and that's what it's going to cost us to travel because of this announcement, right? Lost supply and demand. Domestically, I talked to you about this last week. My airfare from Dallas to LaGuardia was $48. You know what it is today? $211. My airfare from New York to Los Angeles was $68.20. Don't forget the 20 cents. You know what it is today? $280. Those are just one-way tickets. And then the real impact is going to be on international flights. Last week, I told you about 90 different city pairs between the United States and Europe. You know, LA to Madrid, New York to Finland, Dallas to Barcelona, in which the actual round-trip coach fares were under $340. Absurd, ridiculous, but what a buyer's market. Well, within the last 72 hours, that's been evaporated because of the increased demand. So today, that $340 round-trip fare to Madrid is now over $900 and going up. To Finland, over $1,000. To London, right? How cheap was London until this week? $1,600 in coach. That used to be the business class deals last week. And these fare increases are being compounded by the demand. So the longer you wait, forget seasonality. Between now and the end of the year, they're going to go even higher. So try to book like yesterday if you can, at least to protect yourself, or at least think 330 days out before the airlines adjust the fares all the way through the next 12-month period and book some fares then. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing that's going to happen, and this is not pretty, is whether the airlines are going to go back to pre-pandemic bad behavior. When the airlines decided to eliminate draconian ticket change fees, they didn't do it because they wanted to. They did it because they had to. There was no business. Well, once that comes back, how are they going to change the definition of the word refundable? How are they going to change the definition of the word transferable? And again, there's going to be, I guarantee you, the airlines are in such a mad rush for revenue now. Someone's going to redefine the word ticket change fee. They might just call it a Wednesday fee. I mean, they just might make it up. So get ready for that. But for the moment, there are no ticket change fees. You can still book with confidence. And chances are, even if they did change it and reinstitute those fees, they'd give you a deadline. So any tickets bought after a certain date. So now's the time to buy those tickets now to be protected in case they decide to change their mind again, because they can, right? In fact, they should change the name of the ticket change fee when they do it to just because fee, because they can. So just be aware of human behavior when it comes to revenue-driven choices by the accountants running the airlines, and get ready for it because it's probably going to happen. So there's that. I mentioned this last week. I'll do another shameless plug this week. My show, the new show in our PBS series called Hidden, is called Hidden Turkey. It premieres in many markets this week. It premieres in Chicago on WTTW, our lead station, as of October 1st. That's coming up next week. So to give you a little preview, the shameless plug, please.
Get set for a journey you've never taken.
This is amazing.
I'm Peter Greenberg, and I'll show you a country you never really knew.
Ooh, hot.
From Roman ruins to downhill races, we'll see how surprising this old and new country really is.
This is what I came for.
There are countless treasures, all hiding in plain sight. And I'll show them to you. Welcome to Hidden Turkey.
And as we like to say, check your local listings. The other good news is it's also available as of right now on Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. So please get a chance to look at it and let me know what you think. It's the second in our series. The first one was Hidden Poland, also available on Amazon Prime and Apple Plus. And we've got more on the way. So I hope you get a chance to see those. And one more thing I want to share with you before I get to all of your questions today. Earlier this week, actually about a week ago, I flew from Lisbon to London on a British Airways flight. It was a brand new British Airways A320, all coach configured. It had that new plane smell with one small problem. They had jammed so many seats in this plane, it was nearly physically impossible to get to your seat. I mean, talk about the word wedge. But then came something even more insulting. So insulting, in fact, that I had to do a video while sitting in my seat. And when I show you this video, I didn't make this up. By the way, this is every single seat on the plane. I checked. So roll the video and see if you can figure out the absurdity of this. Welcome aboard the brand new British Airways A320. Not exactly known for great legroom, as you can see, but they do have a sense of humor. I'm going to show you how the seat reclines. Are you ready? They actually came up with this as a design innovation. Amazing. Brilliant. Watch. Here we go. That's it. Want to see it again? Let's go. Ready? It reclines. That's it. Stupid. Yep. Stupid. And yet, they would tell you in their online communication that they have seats that recline. Stop it. STFU, Mr. British Airways, folks. I mean, look, there's an even more serious aspect to this. And it's one that I've been yelling and screaming about for the last 10 years. And by the way, so has the National Transportation Safety Board in this country, and so has Congress. You see, under current rules done by the FAA, every airline must demonstrate that they can safely evacuate a fully loaded plane with half the exits blocked with a fully loaded passengers in less than 90 seconds. And what a surprise! They always pass the test. How did that happen? I'll tell you how it happened. Everything short of hiring the cast of Cirque du Soleil to do it. You can't. Did you see the way that plane was configured? Now add in carry-on bags and someone stuck in the center seat next to you and half the exits blocked and real people trying to get off the plane with a real age range, a real weight range, a real intelligence range. It ain't going to happen. And it's never been able to happen in the last 20 years. The FAA has been slow walking their response to Congress. They will not research this and come up with a new set of standards. And at the same time, the airlines are allowed to cram even more seats into existing airframes, like you just saw with the British Airways 320. So it's not a comfort issue. I mean, we can laugh about that seat not reclining. Okay, and the laughing can stop now. Now let's get angry because it's a safety issue. And we need to press our Congress people to press the FAA for a response, a realistic, scientifically controlled response that actually tests the true evacuation time. And instead of hiring people who are quote unquote volunteers to do it, AKA the cast of Cirque du Soleil, just pick a plane at random that's fully loaded with passengers. Pay everybody $100 and say, guys, we'll be a little bit delayed today. You want to have some fun going down the slide? All right, we're going to block half the exits. Go. And if anything happens in under 90 seconds, they win a matching set of luggage and the airline can then cram even more seats in. But they won't. You know what? I failed physics and math in high school. You don't fail this one. It's a no-brainer. They can't do it. A 4-year-old with a stopwatch could tell you that. So we got to stop the 4-year-olds from slow walking this at the FAA. It's time to change it. So we can laugh about the stupid recline of my seat, which, by the way, was every seat. At least Spirit tells you the truth. They tell you that none of their seats recline. You know that going in. But BA should be ashamed of themselves. Anyway, I wanted to run that video. Now let's get to your questions. All right, I'm going to come over here and start scrolling from the top. All right, hello from Irvine, and Katrina's back on from Alabama. Melissa says, hello from Reno. Think I can make a 75-minute connection in Frankfurt? Flight change for the 4th time. Are you changing one Lufthansa flight to another? You might have a chance. I would get in preparation for the sprint. I have done my share of running in the Frankfurt airport. It's not pretty, but I'm not worried about your minimum connection time of 75 minutes for you. I'm worried about it for your bags. So give me some more information, Melissa, and I'll try to get back to you. Colleen, good morning from San Francisco. Lindy from Ventura. From the Berkshire Mountains, D.L. Swanson. Tisha says, hello from Glen Eagles in Scotland. I was going to give you a shout out already, Tisha, but you beat me to it. I just saw Tisha last week in London, and we exchanged pleasantries, and now she's at one of my favorite locations, Glen Eagles. And I'm not a golfer. I know there's golf there. I'll tell you what they have there that's totally cool at Glen Eagles. They have skeet shooting with an over and under shotgun. It's the best. And you know who, people don't realize this, you know who runs that school? Jackie Stewart, the British race car driver. People forget he was an Olympian in skeet shooting. Jackie Stewart, remember him? Well, great school. Check it out. And again, Tisha, nice to talk to you again. And I do have an answer for Melissa on the Grand Egyptian Museum. According to the Egyptian Minister of Tourism, it's going to be in February. Now, they've changed it before, but that's not what they're telling me. They're telling me now February 2022 is when the GEM is going to open. All right, Robin DiCarlo. Hello from Williamsburg, Virginia. Update on our passports. It took 33 days to get our passports back, non-expedited. Wow, progress. We went from an 8-month backlog to you at 33 days. Robin, I wish I could give you an award for that. I hope your situation is not an isolated one. Still, guys, if you have a passport that needs to be renewed or a new application, get it in now, especially that the summer's over, and you might get lucky with a 33-day return. Alexander McCummon says, greetings from sunny Zurich, Switzerland. All right. Great question from Elizabeth. I think it's Caso in Salt Lake. Is there a standard size dimension for carry-on baggage on domestic flights? And the answer is absolutely not. Every airline has their own acceptable dimensions. You can find it on their website. And in fact, if you take a look at the gate area baggage sizers for airlines like Spirit versus the airlines like American and Delta, you might find they're different. All right, Miss Debbie Menon, hello from LA. And Patty Ford says hi. From Colleen, if we are flying from SFO to Slovenia next May 22, should we still book our flights 54 days before date of departure or try to get tickets today? Well, May is not the season. So the answer is wait for 54 days ahead of time. That's probably when fares will be their lowest. Anytime after the 30th of May, it starts to boom up. Don't do it today. Patty Ford says, I got a full refund from UAL credit card for canceled tickets. You know, You heard me talk about this last week, that the U.S. Department of Transportation announced a full-on investigation of 20 separate airlines for really bad behavior and not refunding tickets to people whose flights were canceled during the pandemic through no fault of the passengers. Guess what? When they went after Air Canada with a proposed $25.5 million fine, what a surprise! The folks at Air Canada started writing checks. Well, guess what? They did the same thing at United, and before they got to the point of proposing the fine, United kicked into gear and started writing checks. There are 18 other airlines that are being investigated. The message is clear. Get your checkbooks out. Those vouchers and credits are worthless to most people. They're an insult. We're not in the business of giving interest-free loans to the airlines. We all know we had a problem here, but that behavior is unacceptable. So hold on to stuff. If you're still holding one of those credits or vouchers, the US DOT may be to the rescue. Hello from Larissa in Sacramento. Okay. Tanya, hello from the Mustang owner in Tulsa. We just did a special for my show, The Travel Detective, in Tulsa, one of America's greatest underrated cities, by the way. And of course, part of Route 66 goes right through it. And Tanya was nice enough to loan me her red convertible Mustang, and we had some fun on 66. We got our kicks, for those people who remember that song. Okay. Let's see. DL Swanson needs some insurance advice. Some countries requiring visas want you to have a 30-day international health insurance policy that guarantees to pay for COVID hospitalization. What companies will issue such a policy? Well, my answer, DL, is that in many cases, it's the countries themselves that have contracted with those insurance policies, and you get that insurance upon arrival. That's the case I know in Turks and Caicos and many other Caribbean destinations. So check with their tourism office to see if that's implemented in that destination. From my cousin Nohea, can't wait to explore Turkey. Nohea, I owe you a phone call. I'm going to do it today. Patty Ford says the A320 is good, but the seats now don't recline. Well, duh, watch the video. Okay. Patty Ford wants to know what STFU means. Patty, I'm not going to tell everybody what it means, but someone help Patty out. All right. Carolyn Coward says, welcome back. And you're asking when I'm doing a live fan meet and greet. Well, I speak at the Travel and Adventure shows. I'm doing one in San Francisco on the 23rd and 24th of October. And then LA will be early next year. So hopefully see you there. Geraldine says, hello from Chicago. Do you need to lock our luggage, check in, and carry on? I grew up with Tinker toys. Luggage locks are Tinker toys. They're ornamental. And the ones that are supposedly approved by the TSA, ornamental. Look, there's no need to lock your luggage. Here's what there's a need to do. Be careful what you pack in your luggage, right? Electronic items, brand new cameras, a new set of clothes with the price tag still on. Remember, luggage thieves don't steal bags. They steal individual items from bags. And as long as the TSA needs access to your bags, they're going to have access to those locks too. And I hate to tell you, TSA, this is a matter of public record, how big the checks are that you write every year for things that are lost out of bags you inspected. So it's what you pack that counts. It's not how you lock it. Mark Wexler's trying to have a sense of humor this morning, and it's not appreciated. But Mark knows exactly what I mean. Thank you, Mark. Is there a good service between Orlando to LHR on BA? BA has not necessarily restored that service yet. In fact, at one point they were flying to Gatwick, I believe, and BA is trying to get everything done that they can get out of Gatwick now. They're trying to exit that airport. So we'll check that information for you, and I'll get you the answer on whether or not there's any good service to LHR from MCO, otherwise known as Orlando. Hello, Jane. Jane Houlet. Hi, Peter. Okay. I'm going down here. Ellen Ginsberg Deutsch. Hi from New York. When do you think Chile and Argentina will be open for travel? Well, as of this week, Argentina and Uruguay have opened. They're open. So we're just waiting to hear from Chile. Okay. Oh, Mia says, can someone please fund the FAA so they don't have the excuses to do the real safety measures? In my recent flights, I see flight attendants over age 60. Well, you have two issues there, one of which I agree with you in, one of which I completely disagree with you on. Let's start with the first one. This is not about funding the FAA in terms of coming up with rules that we can all live with. That's their job. Where we need funding from the FAA is in another area, which you didn't bring up, and that's called MROs. An MRO stands for a maintenance repair organization or operation, and it's where airlines are now outsourcing a lot of their maintenance to foreign countries with little or no federal oversight. There's your problem. And it's even worse than that, because who's watching the work? Well, in this country, they have something called FAA designated inspectors. That's what got Boeing in trouble with the 737 MAX. Why would you trust anybody whose paycheck comes from the company making the product to tell you that it's safe? Anybody can say the words conflict of interest, flaming conflict of interest. And by the way, I'll have an update for you next week on who may be going to jail as a result of the Boeing 737 MAX still controversy. But getting back to your question, so it's not about just funding, it's about staffing in the proper way. So right now, if an FAA inspector wants to go down to El Salvador and inspect the maintenance work that's being done on US airlines, do you know what the procedure is at the FAA? Number one, he has to go get permission from his supervisor and have a really good reason to go, as opposed to he just wants to check it out. But number two, and this is the thing that drives me through the roof, assuming he gets permission, he is then required to notify the MRO with at least 7 days notice that he's coming. Anybody have a problem with that? That's like the health department telling the chef they'll be there in a week to check out the kitchen. Garbaggiola. Sort of an Italian word. You get it. Look, if the airlines are allowed to outsource their work, it still needs to be inspected by an independent agency. I'm not saying that the folks in El Salvador do a bad job. I am not saying that. I am saying it needs to be inspected on a regular basis and then certified, and it's not. So when the airline industry tells you we just had 20 years of the most safe environment in the airline history, and they're right, we have. So we want to celebrate that, but the question is, can we maintain that? And we can't maintain that if we have loopholes like this in the inspection process that will allow things like a language barrier or cost cutting because of economics or shaving corners to get in the way. It's almost inevitable that will happen as costs go up. So I say again, FAA, go back and realize what the definition of your job is. It's to enact safety precautions and measures and then enforce it. You can't enforce it if you don't inspect it. Am I getting a little heated here? You bet. Now, for your second comment, Mia, in my recent flights, I see flight attendants over age 60. I love flight attendants over age 60. You know why? Because they have knowledge. They have experience. They know what to do. And I'll give you an example. Many years ago, they had to abort a TWA flight in New York. They had to evacuate the whole plane. It was a serious safety issue on the runway. And you know what? The flight attendants who were over age 60 took control. They were completely calm, cool, and collected. And the new hires were cowering. I'm not naming names. But you want me to be on a plane, a 24-year-old pilot or a 60-year-old pilot? I'll take the 60-year-old every time. Because when the you-know-what hits the fan, they know how to fly the plane. They're not just monitoring systems. So I am not an ageist here. I'm a realist, and I support flight attendants as long as they can pass the safety checks and go down the slides and do everything that they have to do. I have no issue with them flying and working as long as they possibly can. I respect them. Okay. Here's from Petronilli. I'm from Tanzania. How can we get more travel agencies to visit Tanzania and, of course, visit our East Africa Expo? Well, as you may know, I just finished a 1-hour special on PBS that will air in January or February called The Royal Tour of Tanzania with its president. And let me know a good email address for you. We'll let you know when it's going to air so you can tell your clients, because it's not my job to promote a country. Let's not get silly about this, but it is my job to present it, and I hope we did a good job. You'll be the judge in January or February. Stephen Faust says, your thoughts about travel to Malta. I love Malta. Its airlift is a little sketchy these days, but you can get there. And I mean, look, if you look at the history of Malta, everybody, including Napoleon, hung out there. Great history, great architecture, great seacoast, and great food. So I say go. Okay, so do it. Hi from Marion, Michigan. Patty Ford, international travel slowed down. Not now, not since the announcement on Monday. Get ready, fasten your seatbelts. Evelyn Hollborn, good morning, Peter. Good morning, Evelyn. Okay, I just answered the Malta question. How's London in January? Taking a transatlantic voyage on a Queen Mary 2 in January. In January? You're doing a crossing in the North Atlantic in January? Wow. Normally the QM2 doesn't do that. Normally the QM2 does it between April and September. The North Atlantic can be a little cruel in January. However, if I had to guess, the QM2 is not just doing a crossing in January, it's starting its world tour, if I had to guess. So, but the answer about how's London in January, I love it. Anybody who goes to London to get a tan is delusional. It's sunny in London about 4 days a year. But you know what? You're not in London for that. You're in London for the culture, the history, and yes, even the food's gotten better. And of course, using London as your hub to go throughout the entire English countryside, get up to Ireland, Scotland, Wales, one of my favorite places. So the answer is good time to go. Passport time for renewal. You heard me say it before. We just heard about a 33-day turnaround, which is great, but I got to tell you, that's not the usual. It's taking about 6 to 8 weeks minimum, so do it now. All right, hello, Jan from Chicago. Hello, Mary Robinson. Okay, hold on a second. We're got some more here. I'm scrolling up. Okay. Marcia Frost says, hello from Oregon, going to Ireland in June. When should I book? Well, you have hotels already in mind? Book the hotels first. Hold off on the airfare until, hopefully if you're going in early June, hold off on the airfare until about 54 days ahead. Okay? Okay. Do I think the Beijing Winter Olympics will be open to tourists? Well, we saw what happened in Japan. Beijing, of course, is next year. If I had to guess, Beijing's a little bit different than Japan. They will make sure it's open to tourists. That's just the way they are. I would be very surprised if they didn't. Gina liked Garbaggiola. Thank you, Gina. I was just thinking of Joe Garagiola. I'm dating myself. Okay. Evelyn reminded me of the TWA flight. It was flight 843 from JFK to SFO on TWA. That's the one we're talking about. I'm reminded of another TWA flight that used to come to LA. It was called 849. But of course, if you worked at TWA, you never called it 849. You called it late 49 because it was never on time leaving New York. They held it there for incoming flights from Europe. Okay. What's the latest with Australia? Is it open to U.S. citizens? Sorry, guys. No. And they may stay closed until May, June, or July of next year. New Zealand has already announced this week the borders stay closed until 2022. Here we go. Coming back up again. Robin wants to know, are any of my other shows on Prime or Apple TV? Yeah. Travel Detective is on that. So are all the Royal Tours. And, of course, the Hidden series. And you say you missed the Travel Detective. The new series starts in January. So check your local listings. Gina says, experienced flight attendants rock. Yes, they do. Okay. Mia says, I'm going to Turkey next July on a group tour. I have been to Greece. What other countries can I tag along for one more week? Well, here's the cool thing. Turkish Airlines flies to more destinations than any other airline in the world. So if you're going to go fly to Istanbul, then on the way back, don't come home yet. Pick a number of locations you can fly from Istanbul very easily on Turkish Air. They've got an amazing route network all throughout Europe and Africa and Asia, even South America, but that's going to take you out of your way. Take a look at about an 800 to 1,000 mile radius from Istanbul. We're talking short 2-hour flights, 2.5-hour flights, and you'll be in great shape. Just go on their website. Okay. Anna London has just returned from Portugal. You need a negative COVID test to fly into Portugal. Yes, I know. I just did that. Took a road trip to Seville, Spain. Borders open both ways. No COVID required for land crossing borders. Okay, well, that's what's going on between Portugal and Spain. And by the way, just one little added note on the new U.S. announcement about opening the doors to foreign travelers. They too have to do a negative COVID-19 test within 72 hours of their departure flight back to the United States or to the United States. And right now, they're working on the protocols to subject them to an additional test once they arrive within 72 hours of their arrival here. But no quarantine and freedom of movement. Okay. Gail says, I depart today for Rwanda and Kenya for 5 weeks. This will be my 4th trip to Africa this year. Gail, I want your job. And it's been epic to say the least. If anyone wants to book a safari, now is the time. I couldn't agree more. Okay. Patty Ford says 6th lockdown in Melbourne, Australia. There you go. Gail says hi from stormy Pennsylvania. Nancy says they speak English in Malta. Yes, they do. Okay, in my opinion, Gail wants to know my opinion. Do I think global entry is worth the $100 fee if someone only flies international 1 or 2 times a year? And the answer is, Gail, how much is your time worth to you? The last thing I want to do after an 11 or 12-hour flight is stand in line for 2 or 3 hours just to go through passport control when I come home. So there are 1 or 2 things you can do if you don't want to get global entry. Number 1, pick a country that has pre-clearance. That would be Ireland, Bermuda, the Bahamas, Canada, among others, even Abu Dhabi, where you actually go through U.S. passport and immigration in those host countries before you board your flight. So that when you land back in the U.S., you're home already. Just get your bags and go, or go to your connecting flight. But for my money, I mean, global entry is probably the best thing the United States has done since sliced bread. It's a great service, and if your time is worth anything to you, get it. Okay. All right, let me scroll back up here a second. And while I do that, let's do our photo of the week. Let's get that up on the screen. It's coming, and there it is. Anybody want to guess where this is? Our winner is Fareed Rifat, and he took this where? Anybody want to guess? It's in Germany, guys. It was on a Rhine River cruise on Uniworld going between Basel to Amsterdam, and you're going to see a lot of castles on that route. Of course, here's a trivia question for you. Which country probably has more castles than any other country in the world? Some of you might say Wales or Scotland, and you'd be close, but you wouldn't win the award. You know who's got it? It's Poland. Nobody gets that one, but it's true. And these are intact castles, by the way. So congratulations to Fareed. If you've got a photo that you think qualifies as the winner, send it to us, peter@petergreenberg.com, and we'll give you the shout out every week. All right, let's go to some of the other questions that you guys sent in during the week. All right, going to Ireland. This is from Marcia in Dublin. Going to Ireland beginning of June next year. When should I book flights? Arrival in Shannon, tour ends in Dublin. No point in booking the flights now. Wait for 54 days out. All right. Some countries, this is from DL, some countries are insisting on proof of an international health insurance that would cover you for 30 days. Okay. Again, go to the country's website to find out if they're providing that, if they're demanding it upon arrival. It might save you some time. From Loretta, looking at Cabo in April of 2022, should we purchase now or wait? Oh, wait. Okay. Peter, this is from Jane. Peter, I tried to add my husband to my Clear Pass for traveling to Paris in October. Can 2 people be put on 1 Clear Pass or not? The answer is not. My understanding is it's 1 person per pass. And by the way, we love Clear. James says, what is your perspective on American travel to Iran and Western Asia in 2022? Can the private sector travel in Iran bank on any new requests in 2022? The answer is yes to both. Already, parts of Thailand are opening up, and that's a good sign. That'll be followed in almost very quick order by Cambodia and Vietnam. The economic impact here is just too severe to continue to delay that. Of course, it'll be based on fully vaccinated passengers like me and hopefully like you. Iran, again, they will open up, okay? Probably by the end of this year. But Thailand parts of Thailand are open now, especially in southern Thailand, like Phuket. Okay, here's one. James says, I've booked a trip to London in October. Are we still currently on the amber list for the UK? A bit confusing if they switch from amber to red. Okay, here's the deal. Forget the traffic light system. You have a green light now from the United Kingdom if you are a vaccinated American traveler. And you can show proof of vaccination. You're going to have to take a COVID-19 test before you get on the plane to go. And up until October 4th, that's coming up, you also are going to have to take a test when you land. And another one maybe 3 days later. But as of October 4th, those test requirements are thrown out. You're not going to have to do that anymore. The only test you're still going to have to do is on the way back to satisfy U.S. requirements with that 72-hour COVID-19 test prior to your departure. All right, let's keep going down here to get some more questions. Okay. From Jeanette, have I ever flown on Volaris Airlines? I'm thinking of flying on them from Tijuana to Cancun in February. I love Volaris. These guys came up with a brilliant business plan. They're an airline that flies, listen to this, they're based in Mexico City. They fly to 23 cities in the US and nobody knows it because you're not part of their business plan, but you should be. What Volaris did is they did some research and found that an overwhelming majority of the Mexican public travels on a very intricate network and route system of buses. So they figured if they could match the bus fares, they'd get people to fly. Guess what? They did. I mean, and if you can get to the Tijuana airport, and so many smart travelers in Southern California do just that by just walking over the cross-border express bridge in San Diego, you find yourself in the middle of the Tijuana airline terminal. Guess what? I've had flights from Tijuana to JFK on Volaris for $63. And they're brand new Airbus 320s, not the same legroom as British Air. And the seats do recline just a little bit better. But you can't beat the price. And if you take a look at their route network, you will find it's a great deal. Okay. Matthew Ennis wants to know, what are my top 3 travel books? Well, off the top of my head, I'll let you know. One, a very recent book by Paul Thoreau called The Tao, T-A-O, The Tao of Travel. Great essays. Another book that goes back a few years is by Somerset Maugham, and it's called A Writer's Notebook. And I'm telling you, it's a brilliant book. Open it to any page, because what it is, it's his observations that he kept in a notebook everywhere he traveled. So some of these essays go for a paragraph, some of them go for 12 pages. They are brilliant. They're just on the money even today. There's not a year that goes by that I don't reread the book. And they've just reprinted it, so you can get it. Speaking of reprinting it, my third favorite book is by Mark Twain. No, it's not Huckleberry Finn. It is The Innocence Abroad. Most people don't realize that Samuel Clemens traveled throughout Europe and the Middle East in the 1870s. I mean, who did that? He did. And he wrote about it. Another brilliant book, also recently reprinted, available wherever you buy books. The Innocence Abroad. And one little tidbit from that book, which I find so amusing and wonderful, is even back then, he was complaining about nickel and diming by hotels. How far we've not come. Although his complaints were about them charging him for a bar of soap and a candle, not the the $9 bottle of water in the room. So well worth the read. Well worth the read. Okay. Anne says, it was 2014 when I met you in Bermuda at an ASTA convention aboard a Norwegian ship. I just found my photos. I took a photo with you and somehow I deleted it by mistake. Well, here I am. Want a screenshot? Thank you for reminding me, Anne. I appreciate that. Okay, let's see if we have any more before we say goodbye. What is my opinion on New Orleans French Quarter in October? Are restaurants open, music venues? Okay, the answer is it's getting back to normal. New Orleans certainly has had their share of storm experience since Katrina, and they will be back, and much more strength to them for that. Joy wants to know, where do I apply for global entry? Go to our website. We'll have that information on for you. My assistant will put it on today. Okay, that's petergreenberg.com. You want to know how long does it take to get it? Well, first of all, you got to apply. Then your application has to be approved, and then you have to schedule an interview with a U.S. Customs officer at an airport near you. But once you get it, it's the best. Okay, let's keep going here okay. Mike reminds me about global entry. Mike Lukens, thank you. Global entry is good for 5 years. So that's about $10 to $20 per trip if you're, only traveling a little bit. I use mine every week. Okay. A lot of people love that picture, Fareed. Congratulations. And me too. All right. And for Joan Haas, I'll be up in the Bay Area October 23rd and 24th in Santa Clara. I'll be speaking at the convention center there. So I hope you'll come out and see me. One more word of advice in terms of your viewing habits. Don't forget Hidden Turkey, premiering now on PBS. You can also get it on Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. Our radio show this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Eye on Travel on CBS. So if I can't answer your questions today, we'll do it on the show on Saturday. And of course, any other emails you got for me, it's peter@petergreenberg.com. Happy to be back in Southern California. Happy to be back on the water, although I'm only here today and we're traveling again tomorrow. So we'll see you next week from a different location. And it might surprise you to find out where that is. All right, guys, we'll see you soon. Thanks again and happy travels. And next week, of course, the last week in September. Hard to believe it. Time has flown. We'll see you next week.